We're getting higher than Randy Orton's shoulders in this bitch.
Oopsie, the worst rapper alive. Oops. Yeah. Big Mac's back on the mic like oops. Back on the horse, still jumping through hoops. I'm missing Lincoln Pink, I don't lip sync. Just to be clear, choking isn't my kink, but I do it anyway sometimes, I guess. Gotta laugh now, die later in my times of stress. I'm blessed, feeling good, charged up like a Hadouken.
Welcome into the king and queen of the ring review with the worst wrestling podcast. I am your host with the least, Jack Lucenay. You guys know the drill by now. This is a fan-sponsored, organic, dumbass show. So if you guys want to help support and grow it, the only way to do that, super kick that subscribe button, maybe share it around with some of your friends. And more importantly, send me some stupid questions, ideas for the show, stuff you want to see, shows you want to get reviewed, whatever's clever. Just send it through to @JackLucenay on all my socials. Or you can always hit me up you can always hit me up by email to worstsportschannel@gmail.com. And we are coming hot off of the Saudi crowd. The king and queen of the ring is officially in the books. And we are starting with Liv versus Becky Lynch. So Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch in that tuxedo mask.
Shame on you, mistrust. Your lies and deceits have finally caught up with you, calling an innocent girl a cheater and turning friends against each other. Your evil games are coming to an end.
So Becky versus Liv Morgan in what was a pretty solid match. But I think obviously the most important aspect and pivot of this story was at the end when Dirty Dom Mysterio comes through the crowd. And supposedly he is there to stop Liv Morgan from getting that world women's heavyweight title. But no, instead he slides the chair in, and Becky Lynch, refusing to pick up the chair, instead takes a DDT from Liv Morgan on the chair. Liv hits Oblivion and gets the pin for the win. And we have a new Raw Women's Champion in Liv Morgan. I was very happy with this decision. For one, I'm a fan of Liv Morgan. I know there's some people out there like, I don't get it. I like her. Okay? It is what it is. I like her just as a wrestler, as a person. Her persona. I like everything about Liv Morgan. And the thing about this match in particular was I felt like this is what she needed to validate her story. This whole idea of the Liv Revenge Tour doesn't make any fucking sense if you're just coming in second again, eating an L clean to Becky Lynch. So I'm glad that they didn't just go with the interruption, and that, maybe there was like a weird finish where they kept it on Becky Lynch and did the thing with Dom, and it's supposed to be like a plan that didn't work out. No, they went full ahead with this story, which I'm already invested in, and I think a lot of people are, because they see it coming down the pipes of Liv Morgan and Dirty Dom are clearly in cahoots. And so obviously that's going to create a rift with Rhea Ripley when she returns from her injury. I think they are going to use this as the pivot, because generally speaking, when you have a wrestler as over as Rhea Ripley come back from injury, even when they left as a heel, it's really hard not to have that face pop when they come back from the injury. We kind of saw that with Triple H when Triple H tore his quad infamously in 2000, and then when he came back from it, one of the most massive return pops that you've ever seen in the WWE. I think they're kind of setting up that route for Rhea Ripley. And to do that, you have the heel turn. I I mean, the continued heel turn of Liv Morgan, but I think you really get that nuclear heat on her by, yes, having it turn out that her and Dirty Dom are together. And I think what's great about that storyline also in a kayfabe perspective is we finally get away from the Rhea Ripley and Dom angle, which I think has definitely cooled off. The mommy stuff definitely feels a little more forced nowadays. And I definitely think there's going to be some great moments, though, where you have Dom's loyalties tested between Liv Morgan and Rhea Ripley. And so I love, again, where this storyline is setting up, everything that, it's setting up for the future. I love that Liv Morgan gets her title run here. As much as I love Becky Lynch, I did not want to have to see, when this has kind of been my chagrin just in general in WWE, I don't want to see every single person go on a fucking 100-day title run. Like, not everybody needs to hold the belt for that long. I love seeing these kind of shorter 2-3 month title reigns, get a little bit more turnover, and get more people with that belt. And then not only that, but the top stars like a Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is never going to approach how many world titles Charlotte Flair has if she doesn't lose a couple and win a couple. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of the thing in wrestling that I think gets forgotten, is like, to get a 15-time world champion, they got to lose it 14 times, right? Like, so again, just getting away from these like super long title runs. I think the women's scene, especially on Raw and SmackDown, very live right now. Lots of characters. I mean, you look at Lyra Valkyria, who we'll talk about later, and the come up that she had through the Queen of the Ring tournament, and just like the amount of depth there is on the roster right now. I again want to see the title get hot potatoed a little bit, just so that more women get their run with it, but also it creates more interesting stories instead of, again, just every fucking time someone gets a title, it has to be 100 to 200 to 300 day run. So after Liv Morgan versus Becky Lynch, we got the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn versus Bronson Reed versus Chad Gable. This was a great match. I'm not surprised that Sami retained specifically in Saudi Arabia because of his Arabic ties, given his family in real life, which is a strong community in Montreal. I live about an hour north of that area, and when I did live in Montreal, I actually lived pretty close to a couple of Arabic and Indian communities. So I can tell you that Montreal specifically is very multicultural. So, huge. I mean, it's always, I love when you kind of get to see the blend of real life and pro wrestling kind of come together. And what I mean by that is, the idea of Sami Zayn this year on the run that he's had with the Intercontinental Championship, getting to defend it both in his hometown of Montreal, but then again in Saudi Arabia, and getting wins in both of those towns. Like, I think that's just huge for the crowd and for the live shows. But at the same time, I'm ready. I'm already ready now to see Sami drop that title to, Chad Gable has to get a run with this Intercontinental Championship at some point, or else his story doesn't make sense, really. And I feel like at Clash is a perfect opportunity to kind of coalesce and finally have the Sami Zayn, Chad Gable one-on-one where Chad finally wins that fucking title. So I'm hoping they go that direction sooner rather than later. And I would love to see a guy like Bronson Reed. I also would love to see get a run with an Intercontinental or United States Championship. And again, I don't need to see these guys carry the belt for fucking 4 to 6 months at a time. The Intercontinental Championship, especially being the working man's title and having been on Gunther for 600 days, I think you could tell a really interesting story of, there's a lot of really good talent on the roster. And so what Gunther did was amazing, holding on to that title for that long, because the last couple of guys have only been able to hold on to it for a month or two because the depth and field of competition is just that good. So that's kind of a story that I would like to see them tell, particularly with the Intercontinental Championship and also even the World Heavyweight Championship currently held by Damian Priest. Like, even Cody Rhodes, I'm fine with Cody Rhodes giving up his title come SummerSlam if they have the right program in place and the right opponent to do so. But I mean, that's the one where I'm expecting him to hold it until WrestleMania. And so as long as we get, foreshadowing a banger match like we got on this PLE, fuck, it still feels weird saying PLE, it's pay-per-view. But anyways, on this premium live event, as long as we keep getting banger matches, like, I'm fine with it. But again, I like seeing the titles get hot potatoed a little bit. But it was a great match. Sammy versus Bronson Reed versus Gable, lots of great spots. Especially, like, there was one early that kind of looked fucked where Bronson Reed tried to hit fucking, now I'm forgetting the thing that Samoa Joe does out of the corner there, that buster that looks really fucking cool. He tried to do that to Sami Zayn, like, on Chad Gable in like a double move, and almost fucked Gable's knee up. So that was like an early spot that looked really scary. But great match overall. And then I love this involvement with Otis. I just feel like, again, this is the thing of, like, it would have made this thing of, like, just getting slapped all the time. And, like, I know they're going to tell that story over a long term, but I felt like the Saudi crowd, Otis is, like, purely shutting down right now, as opposed to, like, I want to see more fire from him. Like, he looks like a depressed puppy every time Chad Gable slaps him. Like, I genuinely just, as opposed to, like, wanting to see him kick Gable's ass, like, I kind of just genuinely feel sad for Otis. And I don't know that that's necessarily, like, the vibe that they're actually going for. But I mean, Otis is doing, like, great work in terms of, he is really doing a great job of expressing conflict through kind of some of this more simpler acting that he's doing. And so that has been really effective. The one thing I want to see a little bit more is fire. Like, can you not make it look like there's just something behind those eyes, Otis, that makes it look like, as opposed to just being emasculated, like, you actually, feel offended deep down somewhere in there. So maybe that's just me in the way that I read his facial expressions in the situation. But obviously, like, there is going to be a point where Otis turns. If they do it right, honestly, Otis could be a really interesting kind of fun face character to go on, like, a mini run, especially, again, I don't necessarily see him going as high as the World Heavyweight title, but I could see him having a fun little run with the Intercontinental Championship. So, and that's just, again, going back to this ongoing theory that I have of, I want to see the championship change hands a couple of times. So, good match overall. But yeah, Sami Zayn, kind of a little bit paint by numbers, comes out as the victor here. But ultimately, it was a great match. Otis basically ended up costing Chad Gable the match. And Sami Zayn, still your Intercontinental Championship. And then we had the Queen of the Ring, Nia Jax versus Lyra Valkyria, who I think has been absolutely wonderful through this entire Queen of the Ring tournament. I've really enjoyed her work, especially her in-ring work. But even, like, the way that Becky Lynch does, like, the face rah promo, it never strikes me the right way. It feels like it always strikes a little bit of a wrong chord. And especially Becky, who's, like, been on top for so long, whereas, like, coming from Lyra Valkyria, that same promo, because she's like a true up-and-comer coming from NXT, it's not my favorite, but it definitely doesn't bug me the same way as like Becky Lynch, all these years later, not realizing that she's no longer the Boston Red Sox. She has turned into the New York Yankees. Famous promo from CM Punk. But yeah, this was a great match. Nia Jax, shout out to Nia Jax, because she definitely, I think, gets more hate online than your average wrestler, male or female. Not just because, and I think it's doubled because of, yes, she gets the hate of being a large woman from absolute fucking cretins out there, but then on top of it, like, for a long time was considered a dangerous worker and not very good at her craft in terms of like being an in-ring worker and wrestling. And so, and even I very much would pile on and make fun of her for fucking botching all the time and generally just, again, being kind of klutzy in the ring. That's not a thing that you want to be known for as a wrestler, right? And so that kind of criticism, I feel like, is deserved in a sense. It can definitely go too far coming from the fan base, right? Where they're shitting on you all the time. But like at the same time, it's like we have fucking eyes and we can see like who is actually like good at wrestling and who isn't, right? And so I really understand like why people did like her in-ring work. But I always thought that Nia Jax presented as a dominant force and used correctly and, with the work put in, could be one of the best stars on the roster, especially in the women's division. And I think we're starting to see that finally come to fruition a little bit. Especially because she gives me this vibe, which I absolutely love, of like truly not giving a fuck and kind of being above it all. And I really, as a heel, like dig that vibe for her. So I was very happy to see Nia Jax win this match. But holy fuck, Lyra Valkyria took a fucking annihilator in one of the worst ways I've ever seen. Like, this woman got fucking smushed.
My head! The mega bitch squashed my head! The bitch! She squashed my head!
That was Lyra Valkyria after the match. Holy fuck. She literally got fucking just flattened like a fucking Sunday morning crate. Like, Jesus Christ. If you haven't seen it, definitely go run over to the IWC on Twitter, and fucking somewhere out there, someone will be sharing it because it was all over Twitter and it was fucking hysterical. But yeah, again, shout out to Nia Jax, winner of the Queen of the Ring, and as announced by Triple H also before the pay-per-view, she's now in line to get a women's title shot. And then Bayley tweeted, "See you soon, idiot." So assuming this sets up a match between Nia Jax and Bayley, and I'm guessing it also is probably setting up a Nia Jax title run, honestly. With Bianca and Jay currently wrapped up with the women's tag team titles, I think what they're going to do is maybe put the belt on Nia, and then down the line, we're going to see that Nia Jax Jade Cargill feud return. And, maybe eventually, way, way, way further down the line, we see Bianca and Jade Cargill. So there's a lot of potential on that SmackDown women's roster. And I'm very much looking forward to what they're going to be doing in the future. And then we got the King of the Ring match. After that, we got Randy Orton versus Gunther in what I would call a goddamn wrestling match. Like, this was a fucking class, like this was a wrestling class. Like this is, if you're an aspiring wrestler, you're watching this match to learn as much as possible, because these are two guys in Gunther and Randy Orton that do all the little things right. And man, absolutely wonderful match. The only black spot on the match was at the very end. The planned finish was, Gunther had been fucking wrecking Orton's knee the entire match, and at the very end, Orton hits the RKO out of nowhere and kind of goes for a loose cover, and Gunther kind of kicks out and also hits Orton's knee at the same time, and then kind of wraps him in a sneaky crucifix for the win. Now, the problem was that Orton's shoulder was very clearly up. And so the ref still counted the 3 because it was like the planned finish, I guess. That's one of those things where, and it's hard. It's so fucking hard. And I'm not saying that like this is an easy thing to do. But the referee there needed to be cognizant of the fact that Orton's shoulder wasn't on the mat and needed to improvise a second finish. Because I think, in wrestling, and I'm not that I think in wrestling, he should have kind of like 2 finishes planned, in a sense of like, hey, look, this is the finish that we're planning on, but like, if for some reason something gets fucked up, let's not just end on a wet fart of a finish. Like, let's have a backup to go to of like, okay, well, for some, again, exactly like this, like the ref fucks the crucifix spot, or the shoulder, Randy Orton's shoulder was up, and so that's not actually the finish. Like, okay, fine, no problem. We have in the back of our minds the second finish is we both get back up and Orton goes for another RKO, and I actually counter with a sleeper and wrap him and get him that way. Like that's one of those few times where I would have loved to see a little bit of a pivot. Both, and I only even bring this up because when you're talking about Gunther and Randy Orton, 2 of the absolute best wrestlers on the entire roster and in the entire world, they have the improvisational skills to be able to do what I'm basically talking about, because this is like the highest level of professional wrestling, is like being able to roll through a bad finish into a good finish. So that's like literally the only thing I could say bad about this match. Otherwise, I think the other thing that was really funny is the reaction of people online who don't realize how big Randy Orton is, because he's taller than Gunther. Randy Orton is like a true 6'5", 6'6", and Gunther is still very tall in his own right, but he's 6'4". So Randy is like an inch or 2 taller. And I think it was surprising, especially because Randy Orton right now is like very beefy. He looked bigger than Gunther. There was even a point where Gunther went for a chop and Randy straight up caught it and kind of looked like a power wrestler at one point. So really great match. Like I said, I mean, it's fucking Randy Orton and Gunther. Like, it would be harder for them to have a bad match than to have a good one. And again, like literally the only thing was the finish. And in my mind, this was the right finish. I absolutely wanted to see Gunther win the King of the Ring. We've kind of seen this ascension before, a la Brock Lesnar, he was mentioned on the broadcast, and I wouldn't mind seeing. I know Brock has what I would call personal issues, let's say, a colorful personality, let's say. It wouldn't shock me if some of those Vince allegations that were like floating between him and Vince were true, but in terms of just like separating myself from wanting to see like the in-ring product, like Brock versus Gunther writes it, like that's fucking pure money. It writes itself. So I really want to see Gunther get that world title. I think Gunther with the world heavyweight title, but then the problem is as soon as it's like I almost want it and don't want it at the same time, because as soon as Gunther gets that title, that's gonna be like definitely like year-long reign minimum, it feels like. So maybe, let him chase it, but then again, it's like he's gonna have the title match now at SummerSlam with somebody. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they decide to go with, because right now it's like, now they've announced Dave. So right after this, basically, before the main event, Triple H announces that they're going to have Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre, who is now cleared, at Clash of the Castle. So now the interesting thing becomes, are you going to have Damian Priest or Drew McIntyre go against Gunther at SummerSlam? And the other interesting thing is, which one of those has the possibility of a face turn? Because somebody, it feels like, is going to have to turn face and all of that. Because otherwise, you're going to end up with, I guess, heel versus heel at SummerSlam, whether that's Drew McIntyre versus Gunther or Damian Priest versus Gunther. So it's interesting to see where they're going to go with this. I could see them turning Damian Priest kind of sooner rather than later. I think they're going to maybe try to send Damian Priest on a face run by separating him from the Judgment Day. This is going to be really interesting. Again, I'm curious. I'm curious to see where this whole world heavyweight title picture is going to end up. But ultimately, Gunther is your king of the ring. Nia Jax is your queen of the ring. And me, in my mind, it's like, oh yeah, show's over now. Oh right, fuck, we have the main event. Cody Rhodes versus Logan Paul. And I gotta tell you guys, I was really not feeling this whole setup and this match. Especially because in my mind, it should have been title for title originally, and then they kind of waffled on that decision and ultimately decided to have like the stupid lawyer angle where Logan Paul has his own contract and he's like, actually, this is only for your title, Cody. And then fucking at one point, Michael Cole calling it a pre-nuck clause, that the stipulation that Logan Paul couldn't have the brass knuckles, which clearly he was going to violate and obviously was going to have brass knuckles in some capacity involved in this match. It was like half the story they were telling. But it was a fucking banger match. Oh my God. Like, this was to me easily like, if you take away the pomp and circumstance of WrestleMania and, like obviously like the tag team match with The Rock and like the spot with Taker, like all the, again, if you take away like the pomp and circumstance of WrestleMania, to me, this was Cody's best match since he debuted in the WWE against Seth Rollins 3 times. Best match since Seth Rollins. So that's a fucking credit to Logan Paul. As much as I'm like maybe not a fan of his true personality, and I don't know that. Maybe in real life I would meet him and be enamored. But he strikes me as the kind of guy I would actually fucking like usually dislike in real life, which makes him a perfect fucking heel. I think like everybody else, I cannot take away from the physical and personality talent that Logan Paul displays on a weekly basis on WWE programming. This guy is built to be a fucking pro wrestling sports entertainer. Absolutely love the work that he does in the ring and shit. And this match, my God, fucking banger. And they were working Cody's ribs a lot of the match. That was like a big angle. And the camera work, guys, I swear to God, it's fucking cinematic level since fucking Vince McMahon and his fucking cronies and Kevin Dunn and all those fucking schmucks got swept out of the creative, because at one point we get a fucking 360 pan of Logan Paul crushing a prime and spitting it out like Triple H before he hits a frog splash from the top rope to Cody through the announce table, and they had like the aerial view of it. Fuck, man, this was good shit. And ultimately we get to the finish. There was one point too that was really fucking funny to me. Was Cody put Logan Paul in the fucking figure four leg lock, and Logan starts screaming, Cody guy, chill. You're gonna break my legs, chill.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
That was literally the first thought I had in my mind as soon as he was like, Cody, chill. But yeah, they had all kinds of great spots through the match, but it finishes with this great spot where the ref's been knocked out and Logan Paul hits a low blow, and then he pulls out the brass knucks and he's gonna hit Cody with them, and then the special Saudi announcer grabs Logan Paul's leg and kind of distracts him, and Logan Paul shouts at the guy, "Who are you?" And Cody Rhodes grabs him for the crossroads and says, "I'm Cody Rhodes, bitch!" And then he hits the triple crossroads for the win. Fucking fantastic banger of a match to end the pay-per-view. Honestly, man, it's hard because I'm like, I really loved the Leon France crowd, but the Saudi crowd, I think because the arena was maybe more open, you couldn't kind of hear it as well, but they were fucking pumped, you guys. I really just love international PLEs. I'm super excited for Clash of the Castle. That's like usually one of my favorites anyways. And the London crowds, or the British crowds, I should say, because I'm not sure. I don't think it's in London this year. But anyways, the British crowds in general are just fucking amazing. So I'm super jacked for Clash of the Castle. It feels like we've definitely been spoiled with Backlash France and King of the Ring in Saudi, and now we're getting Clash. Where is Clash? Let me just quickly double check that. I want to say London, but if you guys want to tell me in the comments. Oh, Scotland. Fuck. Right, because that's like the whole Drew McIntyre in Scotland. This is going to be like, oh, yeah, there was that tweet. Really fucking funny. Drew McIntyre put out a tweet of John Cena coming in ECW to defend his title. And he said, this is going to be Damian Priest, except without the aura, which is ironic because I also, right before King of the Ring, actually finished watching ECW One Night Stand 2006. I did the review of 2005 last week. I'll be dropping a review for ECW One Night Stand 2006, the one where RVD actually wins the title off of John Cena. So look out for that probably tomorrow, if not in the coming following days after that. But otherwise, I appreciate all you guys watching and joining the show. Please, like I said, super kick that subscribe button, like button, and all that algorithmic bullshit. More importantly, send some questions, show ideas, whatever you want, to my socials at Jack Lucenay and to worstsportschannel@gmail.com. But y'all know it by now. Until the next time, I'll catch all of you guys on the flip side.
My positive contact results in affirmative impact. Never vulgarize on raps. I'm never primitive, but cannibalistic, vicious. Characteristics, hereditary potency, episodic genes, yo. Able to eat MCs at extraordinary speed. Some of me is like slipping in razor blades and grease in your bare feet.